all seem to be holding a little purse. What are these purse items they are holding?
Good question. Good question. Very good question. Some people believe that it was some sacred, special kind of water or nourishment or energy device, while on the other hand they hold what looks like a pine cone or a cone-shaped tool or an artifact. And it's the combination of those two, I believe, that they show us and indicate very clearly that they manipulated our DNA. And it seems to be, these poses seem to be either bearded men with wings or bird-headed godlike beings with wings that are manipulating a variety of what could be described as encoded or entwined DNA strands. I believe that what they're telling us in those images, that they're taking control of our DNA. They've manipulated our DNA, and they've taken control of our pineal gland, and therefore severed us from the consciousness of, or the unity consciousness of the universal consciousness, so that we cannot think for ourselves and just be nice and stupid and follow orders until we reach enlightenment. And this is critical. This is very important, because there are several references in Sitchin's work specifically where Enki and even Enlil and some of the Anunnaki hierarchy senior members debate with Ninhursag and Nindagizida, the sister and the elder son, who seems to also have been a geneticist or a medical man. But they discuss the whole philosophy of breaching what today we would call, among the Trekkies, the prime directive, or going against the creator of all and breaching the code of conduct, and discussing whether it would be okay to create this creature, and then deciding that yes, it will be okay, as long as they imbue the creature with a possibility to evolve its own consciousness and one day take their own place alongside their creator, or the Anunnaki, and not forever be enslaved. So by doing that, they did what the Star Trek series has been telling us for 50 years now: do not breach the prime directive. And I believe that in there is a huge amount of information, because that ability for us to grow and explode and rise and evolve in consciousness, not necessarily physically. The physical evolution will be a side effect of our consciousness and our genetic evolution is encoded in our DNA. In the 97% of the so-called junk DNA, I believe, as many others do, is actually where this advanced DNA of the Anunnaki has been encoded in. And this is what we are now evolving into. And this is why many geneticists have been coming forward and saying that we're using a lot more of our DNA, and rapidly using more of our DNA, as the DNA is being activated by the various frequencies that are hitting us from the galactic core as we cross the galactic plane in 2012. Our DNA is exploding with activation, which causes a feedback mechanism, which activates us as human beings into formulating higher thoughts, which activates our own consciousness and contemplation of our own being. Who are we? Where do we come from? Why are we here? And this creates a rapid exponential curve in the consciousness growth among humanity. And it's a very exciting time to be alive, because you can see it. I'm sure you can see it in the work that you're doing, and the people you talk to, and the people you talk to on the street, and the people that respond to your radio show, how this is evolving so rapidly now. It's now on its own. It's out of control now.
Yeah, what people refer to as waking up.
That's right. Enlightenment, the moment of enlightenment, waking up, really reaching high levels of consciousness. And what I've been talking about is what this point of enlightenment really means, because when you talk to people and you ask them about, well, what is enlightenment? Most people start regurgitating, other definitions of it, but they don't really tell you what it is. What is enlightenment? Sitting on a mountaintop meditating? No, that doesn't define what enlightenment is. And I've sort of reached a conclusion that I've been sharing with people, is that it's only when we realize that we've been totally and utterly enslaved in 4 areas of our existence. And the first one is physically, because we've been cloned as a species. We've been enslaved mentally, because our brain has been controlled through controlling our brain and pineal gland and our entire nervous system. We've been controlled emotionally, because it affects our heart and the connection to the spirit and to source. and it confuses us, obviously. And finally, we've been enslaved spiritually because our souls have been trapped in this involuntary karmic trap that has forced us to relive thousands upon thousands of lives without remembering our past lives, without remembering who we are, where we come from, and why we're here, until we recognize that we've been enslaved in these 4 areas that I've just identified for you. And when that penny drops for you, that we're enslaved beyond any control, only when you recognize that will you be able to reach a point of enlightenment, at which point you will actually, through your own thoughts, knowing that you don't have to come back through an involuntary karmic trap that was created by the Anunnaki through this energetic grid around our planet. And as I said, there is absolute overwhelming evidence that this grid actually exists today, still. That we don't have to come back and relive this insane karmic lives for no reason whatsoever. That we can ascend to beings of high consciousness and rejoin the universe of conscious beings, and then start our journey of helping this planet from a position of higher consciousness, helping those that are still coming out of the darkness and into the light of enlightenment and higher consciousness.
A big part of your research is talking about the suppression of free energy and the power found in crystals.
Absolutely, and once again, this is an amazing journey, because I reached all these conclusions, which are now no more, questionable at all, because I show it scientifically. We've taken measurements in the stone circles in South Africa that I've already said are remains of the Anunnaki gold mining empire, and these stone circles are not dwellings, and they're not cattle corral. They're actually energy-generating devices that create huge amounts of energy by tapping into the sound frequency that emanates from Mother Earth and converting those sound frequencies in gigahertz. Now, this is important what I'm saying here. In gigahertz into electromagnetic energy and electromagnetic fields. We know very little about this, just the low-level detection and measurements that I've done, but what I can tell you is that I believe, I haven't seen anything contrary to this or to contradict this, that the measurements we've made in the stone circles here in South Africa are the highest measurements of sound and energy anywhere, measured anywhere in the world in the history of this planet, emanating out of planet Earth, that can be converted into free energy for us today. And it's just a matter of time for us to realize how they did it, what they did. More and more people that are really bright scientists and engineers that are learning about my research are now contacting me through the Breakthrough Energy Movement as well, that I've been connected with. And incidentally, we're going to be holding the next one next year in South Africa, which is really exciting.
Is there an intrinsic... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Russell. What did you say?
I was going to say, is there an intrinsic power found in crystals, rocks, minerals, so forth?
Absolutely. The source, just think about what is the highest level of modern advanced technology that we use today. It's all silica and quartz-based technology. Silicon quartz, Silicon Valley, quartz crystal, silicon chips in the computers. So if you think for a second what ancient sites are made of, they're all made of stone. Well, what does stone contain? Most of the stone on Earth contains between 70 and 95% silica, or quartz. Sometimes it's very dense quartz and very pure silica. Sometimes it's very basic, but it doesn't matter. It's the silica and the quartz component in the rock that gives it its energetic component. It stores information, it conducts light, it conducts sound, and now we're starting to realize that what the ancients did is they didn't have to extract the silica out of the rock and put it into fancy, shiny metal boxes, so they can sell it to somebody. They didn't have money. They didn't work with money. They created the money as a tool of enslavement to keep the dumb slave species enslaved. Among themselves, they utilized their laws of nature and the knowledge of the laws of nature to use the natural power sources and the devices and the silica in the rock for their own benefit. And so what you'll find that all the ancient sites on Earth made out of rock are done so for very specific reasons, because the stone is very powerful, the most powerful energetic technology that we have on this planet, together with water, I must add, together with water.
Now, you say that they're controlling humanity through money, but they themselves are collecting the gold. Now, for them, is it more than just a monetary thing?
The money is just the tool of enslavement. It's not about the money, and and I so many times have to remind people, it's not about the money. It's about the control of humanity. And the money is used as a tool to control the people. So don't get confused about these two issues. It's really important that people understand this. So, when people talk about, yes, the banks charge too much interest and all this, and when they're going to lower the interest, stop. You're going down the wrong rabbit hole. They've got us so wound up and running around like crazy chickens with our heads cut off, arguing and wondering about the wrong things. It's about the creation of money out of thin air. It's got zero value. It's got absolute control value encoded in it. And those who print the money and supply the money run the world. And those are private families that are of the original royal bloodlines that go back thousands of years. And for those that have seen my presentations will see how I actually support this statement. I don't just talk about it. I'll show you in the clay tablets where they refer to the bloodlines, where they refer to the institution of the first royal bloodline kings on earth, who were also the bankers who ran the first banks from the Sumerian temples. I mean, it's insane. It's just crazy.
I have another audience contributed question here. This is from Grant in South Wales. Did Nibiru play any role in the destruction of Mars or the Great Flood? And will the Annunciation land on Earth when it returns?
I wish I had a clear answer for that. The answer to that is yes, possibly, and possibly not. What seems to be unfolding here is that Nibiru is actually its own little star system, possibly. Like a brown dwarf that's attached to another star, which is actually an invisible star. Now, this gets a little weird and esoteric when you start talking about this, but
it got weird a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, for the uninitiated, I'm sorry, but baptism by fire here. So it seems that what they used the gold for is, in its monoatomic form, gold has some very interesting properties. Okay, now, and this is a long discussion, as you know, when you start talking about monoatomic gold. And once again, the gold that we dig and we use on Earth, the shiny metal, of which we actually have very little on Earth. There's no evidence that there's any gold on Earth at all, actually. It's all gone. Just go and do some research on this. The Anunnaki have been taking the gold off this planet for thousands of years, and they have never stopped. But they use the gold in its monoatomic form. But the reason they get it out from the solid form, because of the density of this planet, they can create huge amounts of monoatomic gold out of that. Or almost orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements that come out of the gold atom, or the gold element as we know it on this planet. And it seems that they were using it, one of the properties is that it not only has anti-gravity properties, and it's obviously